And welcome to another edition of the Nerdy Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Pedersen, with my brothers and fellow nerds, AJ and Josh. We are sponsored by Kirkland Sparkling Water today.
We're always supporting our local Costco.
But Josh is using his own mug.
I got my camp mug for coffee.
It's probably got some Costco coffee inside of it, I would imagine. So it's Kirkland all around here. Grapefruit today is the flavor of choice.
Fantastic. Well, rough start for the Timberwolves, so we're not.
Was it a rough start though? We're not sure.
Stephen Curry.
Because did they win twice after they lost that first one?
They did. They've won a lot of games that they haven't played so
That's
far.
amazing.
You're right. They have won a lot.
I did listen to the last pod. And
We're
you called,
5-0.
You called the Timberwolves
5-1.
perfectly.
We're 5-1.
All right,
On the last podcast, you're like, and the Timberwolves have won this weekend, and the Wild didn't win. But,
on this sports topic, last night at baseball practice, so I'm the head coach of my son's 9-year-old baseball team.
Oh, you did tell me this.
And my assistant coach, who's been around travel baseball for a long time as a coach, and he's a hoot. And he said, well, you know what? Because we always do base running to end our practices. And he said, you know what? For base running this week, he's like, last year we used to do beat coach Jamie because they had a coach that he coached with that played Division I softball. And so he said, I think we should do beat coach AJ. So what we did is that he hit ground balls and the kids ran down the line. And I took them at short and I threw them out. And I was just pegging all of them. It was amazing. I was throwing so hard from like 70 feet away, and it was like just glorious
how's
fun.
your arm?
Great. My legs are a little sore. I did drag my position before, which maybe was a good move for the balls, but a bad move for my energy levels because I did drag that 50-pound thing across the field. But anyway, pretty fun.
So you did drag it because you said it's never dragged.
Oh, it's really bad. Yeah, I thought I was gonna get hurt.
Our 7-year-old practice field, it's like every ball flies over a kid.
Shortstop doesn't get dragged when Holden's got to play there, but if AJ's got to go over there and throw the kids out,
He's got to learn, just like I did when I was 9 years old, what it's like to take a terrible hop.
Got to learn how to adopt.
This week, we're going to talk about the Consumer Price Index.
Confidence Index.
And then also, not the Consumer Price Index. Confidence Index, and then also, it's got two metrics on it, how they're feeling about where it is now and then into the future, correct?
Correct. And so, essentially there's a...
So explain what it is to start.
So should we do what's an index?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because we used to do a lot of indexes. We haven't indices. We haven't done those in quite a while. So indexes are things that essentially there's a certain subset of questions that are asked to different people over periods of time. So usually these happen on a monthly basis. Some are quarterly, but you're basically asking the same set of questions to a group of people and getting a response, which aggregates up into one single number. Usually these are pegged to a starting point. So, where was it when the index was first created? And then that number typically hovers somewhere around 100, and then it either goes up or down from that specific point. But it depends on the index, right? Some are like 50 is neutral, some are 100 is neutral. Consumer Confidence Index, the history of it, historical average is 103. So it pivots around that level of about 100.
And what were the ratings looking like in the last? When did it come out? Did it say on there?
The more recent one?
April.
Yeah, it says in April.
April. What did the numbers look like?
You got it, Adrian? Do you want me to take it?
Yeah, I got them right here. So it's basically the how consumers are feeling about today versus
the present situation.
How
index.
consumers are feeling about the future. And today it's at 133.5, but the future index is at 54.4. And the point of the article is the difference between those two numbers. And they also create another chart that divides one by the other. And it's currently at 2.45, which is a level that has never been seen.
Yeah, so essentially what this is saying is right now, people feel okay, right? We feel like the economy's in pretty good shape, the job market's in pretty good shape, financially people are in okay shape, but there is, when you ask people, what do you think is going to happen in the future, are things going to be okay in the future, there's a lot more pessimism. Down
significant.
54.4 is has never been that low
2011.
Since, yeah, and barely in 2011, and then before that was 2007, 2008, where it went really low, down into the 30s.
It didn't even get this low after the pandemic. Didn't even get it this low.
Right. So that kind of is a telling thing. Whether or not it comes to fruition, most people are looking around going, I'm really scared right now. And so I thought this was a relevant article. And then the volatility piece, the two divided by each other, has never been seen. I think this is the highest number, and it's higher than it was in the .com era. So it's actually never hit this high of a level. The difference between being like, it's good right now, but I'm scared to death of the future. So it's, we're going back on this chart into the 70s. So the fact that we're at that point in time right now, I think is really important for us to talk about because, consumers feeling okay about where they are, but being super scared for the future is probably something that a lot of agents have seen manifest in some of the things that they've heard from their clients, for example.
You know what's kind of funny? It's a little bit of a sad side note. Did you notice that chart average, the current divided by the future, the average is over 1. It's 1.1, which basically means all of the time consumers think on average that the future is going to be worse than right now.
Which I think is a fair, I think they mentioned in there that's always like most of the time they're like, we don't know what's going to happen. We're worried that it's going to be bad.
But it is funny to think about, like we are as humans, I think designed, I've talked about this, not to get into a really weird philosophical discussion, but like with a little bit of angst internally, right? Like we're always a little bit fearful of what is ahead of us. And I think partially that genetically allows us to move forward and keep on going. Because if we always felt good about the future, we maybe would be a little bit more lackadaisical in our approach. But because we are kind of wired to be scared all the time, we're always then working harder or doing more things or trying to push forward.
Isn't there a John Mulaney bit like tonight is the night and there's no other night? What is that one again? It's relaying it to like a rap song or something.
That's like it talks about being young versus being old, I think, in that, right?
Yeah.
Like all the music for young people is like about tonight is the greatest night.
That's right.
It's like, what would the music for, it'd be like the future would be, I don't know, tonight is another night. And
That's right. Yeah. It's a John Mulaney bit. I love it. But I think that's a good topic to talk about because, like, if the consumers on average are at 2.54, that on that chart, I mean, the large majority of people are looking at today and going, it's all right. The future, they're like, it doesn't look great. When you're having conversations, we've talked about this at team meetings before. You're going to have clients that come to you now and say, I don't know what the economy is going to do, so I don't want to sell my house. I don't want to buy another house. I don't want to sell and buy a house. I don't want to build a house. I'm scared of what's going to happen. I don't know what interest rates are going to do. I think it's going to be really bad and they're going to come down. You're having these conversations about the future in a way that we really haven't had outside of like maybe the end of 2022 as rates
for a very short period in 2020.
Yeah, and in a very short period in 2020 where, when the pandemic happened and then also when the rates started to go up, you had people either putting it on pause because it wasn't the old rate, or you had people rushing into the market because they were concerned it was how high it was going to go. So I think having, some simple lines for people, and the biggest thing for me that I tell our agents when that happens to them is that is a very vague objection. The broader economy, it doesn't directly impact each person in the same way. And I think you have to have a conversation about the micro situation that person's dealing with. If it's buying a home specifically, if it's selling a home, it's like, we already know what the current market kind of looks like right now. So putting your home on the market really isn't impacted necessarily by the 6-month outlook.
Outside of what you're going to do after you sell your house. Are you buying another
Exactly.
house? Are you moving? Do you think this is affecting the local Twin Cities market? Like this type of thoughts on how it is currently and where it's going?
I think it's in fact affecting specific people on a more individualized basis because everyone that's being surveyed here has different responses. So some people right now, and I've experienced this even with some of my clients, are like, maybe we're uncertain about some of this stuff, so we're going to be a little bit more hesitant and not coming from a place of fear, but there's more of those conversations being had, at least in my one-on-ones with my clients. I don't know about you guys, but I think that's why it's important for it. Like what we've said before is the market tends to slow down when there's a lot of change happening and it creates uncertainty. The market behavior during times of certainty is much more consistent, right? People are like, there's certainty. I know that the rate is 7. I'm comfortable with the rate at 7, so I'm going to make a decision with that. But if the rate goes from 5 to 7, they go, the rates are going crazy. Is it going to be 9? I don't know, so I'm just going to sit still. And this is kind of a similar example where the emotions in the marketplace are very high. So in that sense, I always feel it's my job to be as neutral as possible when communicating with people, right? And coming from a place of understanding what they're feeling and thinking, because I'm not going to tell them like, this is not, like your feelings are valid, right? Anyone's emotions and fears are valid. So I want them to feel validated in that I understand where they're coming from. And then I want to communicate to them in a way that's saying, here's the reality of what the market looks like right now. let me understand the reality of what your position looks like right now in terms of your job, your home situation, your life, etc. And if this situation still works for you to make a transition, or if it's still the right thing pragmatically for you to do, I usually try to tell people that coming from a place of fear when making decision makings, or coming from places of emotions when making decisions, usually doesn't ultimately end up in the best possible decision.
I think that the important piece there too is I think a lot of agents, when the market's certain, it's really easy. Like when a bunch of people are transacting real estate and there's a bunch of sales, it's super easy. When things get uncertain, when things get hard, you start to figure out what type of salesperson
100%
in whatever industry it is they are. And I tell agents this all the time. When things get harder and more uncertain is when you can actually gain market share. When things are easy and they're certain, you can't do that because they'll just work with whoever they want, because it doesn't matter who they work with because things are easy. Whereas when it's hard like this, if you can take that approach versus like the market's great, the houses are still appreciating, you should just totally sell your house and buy it. Like, why wouldn't you sell your house and buy a house? You want to, versus actually like hey, I understand you're feeling that way. This is what it looks like. Based on what it looks like, does that make sense for you? Because if you can you're going to have more people that say, no, it doesn't make sense for them. And it probably doesn't make sense for them if that's the case. And then you're not helping people transact in a way that's going to negatively affect their lives. And you're going to be having these conversations. Then if you have enough of these conversations over the next, you would say 4 years would probably be the uncertain mark of how long this might last. But if you have enough of those conversations, you're going to get enough trust. And if enough people trust you, you're going to have enough business on the back end.
And I think to answer, it's a great answer to the way that you were thinking about this and talking with people. But to answer your question you asked, I just looked. It's super fascinating. It looks like we hit like a near-term high on pending sale activity in the Twin Cities, which doesn't usually happen in April. That's very unique. You usually see blips around like Easter and stuff like that. But we actually have come down in pending sales for 2 consecutive weeks, starting basically right around when all this tariff news came out. And so it's going to be interesting to see as that bleeds into May, because typically we'll peak in pending sales sometime in June, most years. But if that continues to flatline or actually come down, you probably will see some inventory pickup, because the new listing activity is seeming more unaffected by it. Notably, again, because sellers are in and out of the market much more slowly than buyers are. So you see news impact the pending sale activity, usually in the demand side, more often, more quickly than the new listing activity most of the time.
We've seen a 0.5 point swing in the interest rate cause pending sales one weekend to go down. Wednesday, it's 7.5 instead of 7, and all of a sudden it's less competitive that weekend.
Yeah, buyers, it's like, if anyone knows like if you watch the history of baby names, you've already heard this, right? Where like
apparently Millie is a super popular baby name.
So
by the way. I didn't know that.
There's some sort of
name. Darn it.
There is a concept of like subconscious groupthink when it comes to naming children, where people think that they've got a name that no one else has, and then it is like.
Are you trying to tell me that's why Millie's a popular name?
Well, I don't know. But like
they all heard it that you named your kid Millie, and then they all did it.
Subconsciously, there's a lot more like herd mentality than we even realize that's happening under the surface. Where like you have a name, like I really liked a certain name, but it was like from a TV show, and then every kid, if I like fast forwarded, had that name, right? And so we do as humans tend to navigate towards the same things. Like if you think about baby names now, it's like, why is every kid in 2nd grade named Liam? No one was named Liam 30 years ago. Now every kid's got the same name.
There's also a ton of like 50s names coming back.
Yeah, but like, I guess what I'm saying is there's more herd mentality than we realize. And when we're in the real estate market as actively as we are and our team is, it's actually really fun to see that, because there are weekends where like you have a listing and it's bonkers. And then 2 weeks later, it's like, where did all the buyers go? Right. And it's not like one was on the 4th of July and one was 2 weeks before the 4th. It's like the market in April to April, like within the same month, it just swung fast, and every buyer at the same time had the same thought. And so there's more of that happening than I think people realize. And so it's important for you as an agent to not necessarily just fall into the trap of, well, this is changing, so we have to just follow everybody else. One of the best pieces of advice I got in my career was, if you see a group of people all running the same direction, turn around and run the opposite direction as fast as possible. That was a mentor of
Gave
mine
him
when
that
I was
advice.
That was it was.
Mark Johnson.
I think I did the first half of the sentence, and then you did the second half of the sentence.
That's what it was.
I probably said that like 100 times,
No,
but I
it
was like,
was.
Mark told me that, and I was like, that's brilliant, Mark. You like see a stampede going one direction, it's like turn around the other direction as fast as possible, because usually there's opportunities that way, and especially in real estate, it's like, oh, all the buyers disappeared. You were sitting on the sidelines. Maybe we should get back out, right? Like now I don't have to deal with 5 offers.
And I think the biggest key there, and like you said earlier, you got to stay unemotional, because if you're emotional, then you're going to have these swings, especially when it's like this one. All the buyers left. It's like, oh my gosh, all the buyers left, and the world ends.
Yep.
And all the buyers are here, and it's the greatest thing ever. You just kind of got to flatline and go easy.
And on that note, the other piece of advice for any agent out there that's listening to this, and we've talked about this at a team meeting, and I believe this with my entire being, is your job is to be helpful for people. Your job is not to focus on yourself, right? And I know when things get tougher in the market, let's say that pendings start to go down more rapidly, and you go, oh shoot, am I going to sell another house? When you're in that state, you need to continue to think about what do the people that I'm serving need, and not about whether or not you're going to make money. I've said this from the start. If you're not, the people that make the most money selling real estate are the ones that don't worry about whether or not they're ever going to make money. Because anyone can see that if you're coming from a place of self-interest versus from their interest, they're not going to want to work with you. Or if they do work with you, they're not going to want to tell their friends about you. But if you come from a place of, how can I help this person? How can I help them understand? How can I give them what they need? How can I help them get into their dream house? That's where your business is going to succeed far more drastically into the future. So
I tell my clients all the time, and it's the easiest line to use, and I do firmly believe this. So I mean, I suppose if you don't believe it, maybe it doesn't work. Tell them all the time, it's like it doesn't. It's shown houses, and like, man, we've seen a lot of houses. Like we've been looking for a year. Like we've been looking. It doesn't matter. I just want you to find a house that you're comfortable with, that you can afford, that you're happy to move into. That's all that matters to me. Mm-hmm. And people love that. But it's truth. So you have to, if you don't firmly believe that, maybe you're in the wrong industry, or maybe you need to learn how to believe that. But if you do believe that, you should just tell them that, because people will very much enjoy hearing that you're on their side and you don't care when you're going to get paid.
love it.
That's all we have this week on the Nerdy Agent Podcast. And as always, remember, be better.
Bye now.